We're going to take a few questions, but before the first one, I'd like to just make one observation about this being the 21st gold Vail medal, but it's the first one in 15 years plus. But it was in 1981 that we raised the award to $10,000 for a gold Vail. So this is the first gentleman ever to get the $10,000 award along with the gold. Now questions. Yes, in the green here.
I'm curious as to whether or not you were injured at all.
No, I was not. I landed safely, put on another parachute after I'd seen that Debbie was being air-evac, and went back to work on the DC floor.
Were you in the same plane that she was?
Yes.
Did you know her?
I had met her on the hangar floor that morning, but did not know her.
Have you gone skydiving since that incident?
Oh, yes.
How many times?
10.
Could I ask you what went through your mind? You know, you saw, what happened inside before you took the big bullet dive?
When I saw Debbie pass under me about 30 feet down and accelerating rapidly, it was very apparent that just from lack of muscle control, it was very apparent she was unconscious, and also there was a great deal of blood around her mouth. And the only thing going through my mind was she needed help, and I just said, I wonder if I can do this.
Hey, did you wonder that all along?
Well, when I got there, I kind of stopped wondering, but yeah, I just concentrating on doing the best work I could in skydiving and getting there.
Did you really guide your
Did it occur to you during the rescue that your life was at risk?
No, I was mainly concentrating getting to her. I wasn't thinking about myself at the time. I knew she couldn't do anything. I was awake and I had my own gear, and I trust my own senses to keep myself from putting myself in the ground.
How about afterwards? Did it occur to you that you had almost, that you had risked your life?
We've made a few realizations of that, yes, but given the same set of circumstances, I'd do the same thing again.
Gregory, there's a fellow up there.
Greg, could you describe precisely what happened in nutshell form? You saw what and did what?
Okay. Debbie's group of 6 skydivers exited the aircraft at 13,500 feet. They were second to last out of the aircraft. I followed them about a second or two later simply to observe. At about 10,000 feet, the formation that was building got disrupted and dropped way below us. At that time, Debbie and Guy started diving towards the formation. At about 9,000 feet, and that's the only altitude we're really sure of because Guy looked at his altimeter after the collision. These two collided, and Debbie was knocked unconscious. I started diving, and this is where we just rough it out. I think of it was about 3,500 feet. I caught her. I caught up to her. It was about 2,700 feet that I opened her, and I opened about 2,200 feet. The only reason I know those altitudes or can guess those altitudes is because I opened up at about where everybody else was. All the other skydivers are opening up.
Could you describe
Which time?
How fast? When you were
Going downward, we're 180, 200 miles an hour is what we've been clocked at in those type of dives. When we were just free-falling beside her, I was doing probably about 140.
When was the first time, if ever, that you became frightened? Was it when you were on the ground?
Oh, I've never been frightened, sir.
This incident has never at any time thought, say, oh my God, I could have died.
No, sir. The two parts that concern me, as I caught up with her, I realized that I did not have an exact knowledge of how far above the ground I was. I could still see the horizon out of the corner of my eyes, but I did not know exactly how high I was, and that, just myself, my own self-discipline is wrong. And then I opened up, when I opened up my parachute, I opened up in amongst the other skydivers that had fallen below us. And I had to take emergency maneuvers with my parachute to avoid hitting their parachutes. And that concerns me.
But once you landed safely, you didn't break out into a cold sweat.
No, I ran over to where Debbie was.
You were quoted as saying in some accounts, someone was trying to dive in my piece of the sky and I didn't like it. Did you say that?
That was I do not know the exact quote. I was full of adrenaline at that point in time. But as when I walked into the hangar, I was screaming, and I believe someone said, what's wrong? And I said, someone just tried to die at the drop zone and I don't like it. You know.
Greg, could you pick up your story from where you noticed something wrong and what did you do? You were going X amount of miles per hour and you approached her and explain to us what happened.
Okay, I approached her from I got down to her level, and I said about 3,500 feet. I flew beside her. She was on her back with her arms to her side, spinning at about 1 revolution per second. I hesitated slightly because I saw some movement with her right arm that looked like it might have been a ripcord pull, and I did not want to interfere with the deploying parachute. I waited about a second or two and then determined, no, it was just the wind blowing her arm around. I waited for the feet to swing around me once more, drove in, pushed her into a sitting position so that her parachute would deploy cleanly off of her back, and pulled her ripcord and turned around and deployed my own as soon as I saw her getting extracted.
When you do this dive, like you were floating like that, and then you show us with your body how you, and how many
To dive, this is the body position, where you have your arms at your side and your feet are pointed. You tuck your head in, like this.
And how many seconds did you go down like that?
10, 12, maybe. I really have no concept of time on this. You know, we've just figured out that it took about 20 or 25 seconds totally.
Then did you have to sort of guide your head and your little bullet body over in her direction?
Yeah, you use your shoulders to provide guidance.
Okay.
Well, you became an instant hero, which you still are, for a while anyway. What are the good things about being a hero? What are the bad things about being a hero? And will you miss it when you're no longer remembered for this?
Wow. Well, the good things are kind of this stuff. And also getting phone calls. Joan Rivers called me and personally congratulated me. I got a call from a hospital wing down in Huntsville, Alabama, just to congratulate me. The PSA flight instructors in Phoenix took up a collection and flew it down to the drop zone to give to me, and said, go, have a round of drinks on us. Those are the type of things that really just, show me that common people really like it.
What are the bad?
Okay. Hectic, overwhelming. And I do want to say, I've had an opinion of the media for a long time, and y'all have gone up in my book on this one.
Going to miss it when you're no longer remembered for this, when other heroes arrive on the horizon? Will you miss all this business?
No, I don't think so, because then I can get back to just skydiving, which is what I really want to do.
This would make a great movie stunt. Are you willing, are you going to do it for the movie of your life?
I don't know.
We want to go to Phoenix and see if there's some questions from out there.
Yes, this is Bill Allen of Channel 12 News. I have a question for Debbie. Do you hear me?
Yes.
When you were knocked unconscious at the dive, when did you first realize what had happened, and what was your reaction at that point?
I didn't realize what had happened until I was already in the hospital room after my surgery.
How did you find out what happened? Debbie, how did you find out what had happened to you?
I don't know if it was my fiance or my parents that told me what had happened after the accident. Someone in the hospital.
Debbie, how did you feel when you found out what had happened? Did you feel like that somehow you'd had a miracle?
Yes. I was very thankful for Greg, what he had done to save my life. And I realized without him that I would not be here. I appreciate it, Greg.
Any other questions from Phoenix?
Yeah, this is Tom Sherlock from Channel 5, Greg. Got a question for you. Is there any precedent for this type of maneuver? You're pretty much a pro at this thing. Do you know of other folks who have perhaps tried this unsuccessfully?
I have. Yeah, back in 1985, there was a report that came out of South Africa about an instructor that had saved one of his students who had gotten knocked unconscious, and he was awarded a medal by the Queen of England, I believe. As Mr. Otley is shaking his head yes. So.
That's the only other time in history this sort of
This has been successful that we know of. There has been several attempts, which at least the person unconscious has died, and a couple of times where the person trying to save them put themselves into the ground.
Anything else out of Phoenix?
Yes, this is Camille Kimball with KOY. Two questions. The first, the fellow from South Africa, did you know that before you made the dive last month? And second of all, the other divers, could they see what was going on?
Okay, in answer to your first question, no, I did not know that it happened. I believe I had read it some point in Parachutist where it was published. I was informed of it by, I heard about it and then called United States Parachute Association and they briefed me on it. What was the second question again?
All the other divers who were in the sky at the time, could they see what was going on?
The only person that knew anything was going on was Guy Fitzwater, the other person involved in the collision. And all he knew was he realized after Debbie had hit him, he saw her spinning off and realized she was unconscious and just figured she had gone. And he did not know I was able to accomplish this till after we were on the ground and I went up to him where he was on the ground getting medical attention and informed him that this had happened.
Anybody else out there?
I'd like to address this question to Debbie. Debbie, I was wondering, I'm not a parachutist myself, but I know that some parachutes are equipped with an automatic device that would deploy your parachute as you descend through a certain altitude automatically. Did your parachute have such a device? Would it have deployed itself had you not had help?
No, my parachute did not have that kind of device. I had an altimeter, and then I had a paralert on my helmet that would beep at about 3,000 feet, but my parachute itself did not have any kind of device.
Are there any other questions in Phoenix?
Debbie, this is Pat Finley from the Arizona Republic. Has your fiance changed his plans about parachuting in the future? I understand he runs a diving school.
Fiance changed.
All right, what was the question?
Is your fiance still intending to jump?
He says that he will occasionally jump, but as for every weekend like we've been jumping, we're not going to do that. We're going to try something like sailing, something we can do together. It's a little safer.
There's a question here in New York. Just a moment. Is there another one in Phoenix?
Oh, that's it for Phoenix.
No more questions in Phoenix. Any more here in New York?
Why do you like skydiving? What are the aspects of it that intrigue you?
I cannot explain that to you, sir. I like flying my body as one portion of skydiving. I like parachuting, guiding my parachute. But as far as being able to explain to you why I love skydiving, it's an internal thing that just, I love it.
There's a question right here, too. Did you have a question?
You made sure Debbie was okay. You went back to work on the DC-4. What
Yes.
does that mean? You went back up again?
Oh, yes.
Right that moment?
Yes.
Okay. And another thing, when you went into the bullet dive, the fact that she was spinning and you were bulleting, that allowed you to catch up with her. I don't know anything about aerodynamics, but I'm just assuming that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the money?
The only plans I currently have are to pay off my motorcycle. Pay off my motorcycle.
That's not going to cost $10,000, is it?
No, I just haven't planned anything else. This all sort of happened real quick, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a detail, but did Debbie say her fiance runs a diving school, or what's
Yes, Bill Roth, her fiance, runs a drop zone. I believe it's in Midland is where they keep it. Is that right, Debbie?
It's in Slayton, Texas.
Drop zone, is that like a diving zone?
Yeah, that's where you jump and learn to jump and all.
Now, Debbie is a school teacher.
Yes.
What is her fiance's profession?
Runs a corporate jet service. He's a pilot, and they do maintenance on corporate jet aircraft.
I understand we have a question from Abilene.
I'm Janice Cochran, KORQ AM and FM, and my question is for Debbie. I just wanted to know, how much diving experience did you have prior to the accident?
I just started skydiving in September. I was on about my 56th skydive when the accident happened.
Is there anybody else there, Diane?
How much time would have elapsed before your attempt on Debbie wouldn't have been successful? I mean, I know the time frame is hard to gauge, but in your opinion, what would you say?
I had about 6 or 7 seconds there before I would have had to just keep myself up in the air.
Debbie, have you had any nightmares about this since then?
No, I haven't had any kind of nightmares.
I think the photographers don't know there's something here, but Greg, maybe you ought to go back and pick up your parachute. He brought it with him. And somebody may, and he'll bring him around the side and get over by the TV set, Greg. And if you have questions you want to ask while he's doing it, that's fine.
Okay. If I put it on, it'll be on my back, and I'll have to...
Greg, are you married, engaged, what?
No.
Divorced?
I'm divorced.
Any kids?
No. I got a nice dog.
Greg, can you look this way for us?
Sure.
Greg, stick your head out away from the screen a little bit. Can you hold the shoot up? Can you hold the shoot up for us? Hold the shoot up a little bit.
Hold a minute.
What do you want to do with your life? Now, you've got a pretty good job now, but I don't imagine it's your goal to be...
I want to skydive.
Professionally? I mean, can you make a living doing that?
Once I retire from AT&T. I've got a career with AT&T.
Well, I mean, what do you want to do career-wise?
Excuse me?
What is your ambition so far as your career is concerned?
I haven't had much time to think about any changes in it.
Well,
I enjoy my job that I have right now.
But you want to continue skydive?
Oh, yes.
Can you skydive professionally? I mean, can you make a living doing that?
A few people can in the sport. It's not a real high-dollar sport.
Would you like to do that professionally, full-time?
I think I'd rather be an engineer and do this part-time, actually.
Why?
It's being an engineer is a little more...
Safe.
Not safe, no. It's... trying to come up with the correct word. It's for... No, not lucrative, just... I'm pretty rewarding, and I'm pretty sure that I know I can keep a job with AT&T, whether the people decide to stop skydiving and drop zones come and go. It's more...
It's steadier.
Steady, there we go. Here's a good word. Steadier.
Can you show us on the parachute where the emergency cord is that you pulled for her?
Yeah, I'll slip it over now for that. And the reserve ripcord is right here.
No, we're not going to put that thing back together. I think that's it. We want to thank everybody in Abilene and Phoenix for joining us, and everybody here in New York. And once again, Greg, congratulations very much.